Thursday, the 2nd of February. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Frontier Opening Bell. I am Bosin Namafaye, and this is how we're getting started. A very big day for Nigerian market, 0.5% for the NGX All-Share Index. But if you consider the names that were coming through yesterday in terms of the big jump, Grego Power PLC announced 20 billion naira gross dividend. MTN Nigeria reported a bumper earnings for the fourth quarter of last year, revenue up around 15%, bottom line very strong, EBITDA roughly 15%, earnings per share 4.41 naira, paying a dividend of 10 naira per share. Grego will be paying 8 naira per share, a dividend yield of 24%. On what Grego Power was bringing to the table. The shares of Nestle went up yesterday by 1.48%. The shares of Zenith Bank, Nigeria's largest commercial bank, went up 2% despite the Moody's Investors Services downgrading of 9 Nigerian banks, including Zenith Bank. The share price went up 2%. Jitco shares up by roughly 0.5%. A very big day. Downside, however, we saw investors booking profit on Guinness Nigeria and Adova PLC, two listed companies that also reported their earnings within the last 3 days. So earnings stream is what's driving Nigeria's markets right now on the equity side. The BRVM went up much bigger yesterday in West Africa, 0.75%, 200.75. On the composite, the Ghana stock market also jumped yesterday strongly, about 2%, the first such big upside since the new year started, as the authorities begin to wrap their heads around the country's inflation, the CD, and of course the local debt swap that the administration is pursuing. And that is that the investors seem to be taking another look at the entire program and see how it goes. The stock market got a breathing. Also, the whole West Africa was big as far as the three big exchanges were concerned. You look at the Egyptian market down by 0.23%. The Nairobi stock market, the biggest in East Africa, went up 1.37%. The NSE All-Share Index climbed to 127.64. The GSC still below the 80,000 where it started off sometime in the new year at about 79,816, up by 0.43%, however, on Wednesday. So that's just a summary of some of the markets that we cover for you here on the show on a daily basis. Let's just get on and grab a few headlines from East Africa to start with. As always, AFDB's funding arm, the SCRA, has given $1 billion in grants to boost electric mobility shift in 7 African states, while Uganda's central bank is asking investors to transfer April bonds into the financial regulators' coffers, while the Central Bank of Kenya is expecting a stable FX market, unfavorable external deficit, while the Nairobi Securities Exchange is fighting for foreign investors amid negative returns. They want foreign investors to come. But again, there's a whole lot in the market, considering how when foreign investors move, they could leave the market hanging. That's a very hard lesson Nigerian market has learned, and now the Nigerian market is a whole lot more on the local investors side, in particular institutional investors. But let's talk about West Africa and Nigeria, where Nigeria's earnings from MTN, Stanbic IBTC, Guinness, Adova, Okomo Oil, and a couple of others is lifting the market. Broadly speaking, and wider story around the global oil, the GMMC, this is the Joint Monitoring Ministerial Committee of OPEC, met yesterday virtually and decided to hold all previous commitments which were decided upon last October and checking in on November and December output. The big story will be the EU's decision tomorrow, February the 3rd, on whether to cap Russian oil at $100 a barrel and $45 a barrel for jet fuel. All of this are in play. Deadline is Sunday, the 5th of February. Keep that in mind. So Nigeria has inaugurated a new board, a new council board and executive management for its Ministry of Finance Incorporated, which was set up just as the country's independence, but been largely moribund. Now President Buhari is charging. He is the chairman of the governing council of Ministry of Finance Incorporated. It's an asset management and investment firm, and it's looking at about 100 trillion naira in asset portfolio by the year 20 33. That's the charge the president gave yesterday to the new team. It's a 3-layer of leadership that this new agency is having, and to help Nigeria manage its assets here and around the world. More importantly, in the key sectors of digital economy, technology, real estate, mining, oil and gas, and everything else in between. Today, the Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, is providing further details on that. In the meantime, the Cote d'Ivoire was able to raise about 60.750 billion CFA franc at the Treasury bills market on the West African Monetary Union market. We are more, in a way of speaking, out of about 80.75 billion CFA francs that the authority, Treasury in Cote d'Ivoire, placed on the table. That's roughly about 80% of total treasury offer. And the ECOWAS Investment Bank has been able to secure $500 million from the EFDB Group. It's a grant to the investment banking arm, development finance bank arm of the ECOWAS authority. So let's touch with Southern Africa very quickly. And it's a big day for Absa Group doing a secondary listing today on the A2X Markets. We've seen a couple of companies moving from the GSE onto A2X. It's a whole lot of a bigger issue. However, for Zimbabwe, where we've seen a bigger flow of companies moving from the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange to the new Victoria Falls Exchange, and that is a bit of a concern right now that the authorities are looking into. The IMF slightly boosted South Africa's growth forecast for 2023 to 1.2% on the back of the very naughty electricity issues wrapped around the neck of Eskom. Then you've got ShopRite half-year sales up 16.8% to about 106.3 billion rand, but that comes at a cost roughly 650 million rand being used to purchase diesel. Eskom is using diesel, everyone is using diesel, ShopRite, everyone else using diesel. In particular, they change stores because they need to keep things fresh for consumers. And South Africa is likely to get a new bank. It's going to be an SME-focused bank because Lululand has been able to secure about 600 million rand, roughly 35 million US dollars to move ahead, supply to the authorities, and is likely to come up with a new banking license. The Senate in Zimbabwe is looking at a bill for private voluntary organizations. We'll get the details of that as soon as the upper legislative house signed off on that particular bill and turn it into law. Let's get on to North Africa. Touchdown in a few countries, economies there to find the latest news with Moody's Investor Services downgrading 4 Tunisian banks to CAA2. Just as they forgot. Moody's Investor Services also downgraded 9 Nigerian banks yesterday to CAA1, which was in line with the sovereign credit rating downgrade that Nigeria got last Friday. Those 9 Nigerian banks, Zenith Bank, Access Bank, First Monument Bank, Union Bank, UBA, and a few others got their ratings haircuts from B3 to CAA2, but outlook stable. 4 Tunisian banks got their haircuts to CAA2 from Moody's as well. Egypt's economic is showing a positive indicators as the growth rate continues to rise, while the country's financial services provider, M&T Harlan, says he's been able to secure 400 million US dollars in funding to support his digital lending operations in the North Africa's biggest economy. And finally, Morocco is extending the suspension on red meat imports duties to help stabilize local prices. And that's the briefing this Thursday here on Frontier Opening Bell. I am Bosun Amofaye. Go on our website, frontierafricareports.com. Watch this show again on YouTube at Frontier Africa Reports and subscribe. It's free. Go on all our social media platforms to follow us and see what we publish on a regular basis. Bye for now. Have a great day.